One of the issues that came out over the weekend were the text messages that were sent to people, apparently from Medicare, although clearly not from Medicare, saying this is your last chance to save Medicare. A lot of the reporting is suggesting it's Queensland Labor. Is that true? And if it is, does this election result you've got, have you achieved that on the back of fraud?
Not at all. In terms of the campaign, that wasn't part of any national campaign, so I'm certainly not aware of that. But if Malcolm...
No national campaign, so it may be Queensland Labor?
Well, Queensland Labor said they did send out a text. But the point about it is if Malcolm Turnbull... Well, no, I don't know what they sent out. But if Malcolm Turnbull is complaining that he lost the election because of a text, he's freezing the GP payments, which means the bulk billing goes, he's increasing the price of medicine, he's getting rid of bulk billing incentives for blood tests and pathology tests. If Malcolm Turnbull doesn't get the message about Medicare, then he's learnt nothing out of this election.
All those are separate arguments, but there is a very serious question here about the nature of the campaign and whether or not this, which would seem, if it's true, to be fraudulent, was part of the campaign tactic. Now, I understand police are investigating. If this is true, would you want to see criminal charges laid?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Mr Turnbull's asked for the AFP to investigate. We'll see what happens there.
I also say I think there's a bit of anger, and there's anger on our part because a very decisive factor in this election was Labor's Medicare campaign. Now that is not sour grapes. The federal police are now investigating a text message which went out to millions of Australians saying that we were going to privatise Medicare. Now that's a lie, Tony, and it came from a sender that said Medicare. Now, let me imagine if the Australian Tax Office sent out a text message to people saying, if you vote for a particular party, your taxes will go up. Or if you vote for, if it was a Department of Immigration and you voted for particular parties, your visa would be revoked. That was a lie. It was calculated, it was disgraceful, and now the police are investigating.
All right, we're going to have to let Chris Bowen respond to that.
Well, that's a nice deflection from the worst speech given on election night in living memory, Josh.
Well, it's not a...
I've watched every leader give their election speeches since 1987, and this was by far the worst. It was juvenile, petulant, defensive, and he declared a lack of confidence in the Australian people and anger at them for the result. So you can deflect from that all you like. It showed a defensive, under siege Prime Minister. Now, we make no apologies for campaigning on Medicare. This is a government which tried to bring in a $7 GP tax, then froze the Medicare benefits, of the MBS, until 2020.
Now, we are going to come to that, but just briefly, what about the involvement of the police? Is anyone under any threat of prosecution?
Well, this is the second time in this election campaign the Liberal Party's called in the police. Malcolm Turnbull didn't like the inadequacy of his NBN policy being exposed, so he called in the police, and then on election night he announces he's calling in the police about a text message, which did not go to millions of people.
So it's the second time the Labor Party's called in the lawyers to defend people against police prosecution?
It's now under police investigation at the behest of the Prime Minister. We're comfortable with that. I mean, if that's what he wants to do, that's what you want to do.
A Commonwealth agency, and that is illegal under the Crimes Act.
It did not go to millions of people, Josh, and you know, if you referred it to the police, let that process unfurl if that's what you want.